Welcome to another episode of Blue is the New White podcast. Today, my guest hails from the great state of Indiana. His name is Kelson Carter. Kelson was introduced to me, well, actually, he reached out to me through a mutual connection that we have, Mark Paget, who was also on the podcast. So if you haven't seen that episode, check it out. He's with XOI Technologies. I talk a lot about XOI and what they're doing in the industry, and how they're kind of helping change the perception as well. But we're going to get right into it today with Kelson. Kelson, thank you for coming on the show. And why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to everyone?
Hey, Josh, thanks for having me. Again, my name's Kelson Carter. I'm out of the great state of Indianapolis. I live probably 30 minutes south. I am a third-generation plumber. I grew up in the trades. Didn't always see myself in the trades. I've been working full-time in the trades for a little over 11 years now. I have been out in the field. I worked out as a technician until about 3 years ago, and then I transitioned myself into the operations side, office manager, and still in that spot, kind of in between, taking my next step towards like a president position. My dad is still involved with the business, not heavily though. My mom is still involved too. She comes in every day. She deals with all of our marketing and overlooks financial stuff. Yeah.
Cool, man. That's great. That actually reminds me a lot of, kind of my story with coming into my dad's business and kind of working my way up. Almost the same way that you're doing. You said you've been doing it about 11 years now?
Yeah.
That's
I graduated high school in 2009, and I actually graduated early to start working in the trades. I wasn't good at school, was horrible at school. Wasn't a bad kid, just I had F's on every test. You read the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Mm-hmm.
I think I saw that in your thing.
Yeah.
So you kind of have your poor dad that wants you to go to college and get a degree, and your rich dad teaches you business. So for me, I was playing the cash flow game when I was 16 years old. So I grew up with that type of father in the house. Didn't really see school to my advantage going down the road. Very hands-on guy, which a lot of the guys I ran around with in high school and my lower 20s, they were both very hands-on. I didn't always want to be in the business, or I never saw myself getting into the trades. I feel like a lot of kids that grow up in a family trade atmosphere, you always say you would never do that. I had a lot of different ways I could have gone. I thought I wanted to be in the military. I thought I wanted to be a diesel mechanic. My parents actually sold their last business in 2006. So there was a period of time where we weren't involved in the plumbing, heating, and cooling industry in this market. They had a 2-year non-compete. So for me, that was I was 16 at that time. So that was kind of a phase where, I just thought I didn't want to do the trades. And I ended up job shadowing a bunch of different places. And then my dad landed a couple jobs when I was 18 with a local new construction builder, which that was during the 2008 crisis, which there wasn't a lot of new construction out there, but I did new construction for 3 years. And I eventually said, hey, I'm done doing new construction, which is great. Some people love it, but I'm a salesy service type person. So I love going in people's homes, which is not for everybody, but I was more geared towards that. So we grew with one plumber, and we have 10 now. So it's been a neat progression to see a business grow from the ground up.
Yeah, sounds like it. So after high school is when you got into the new builds?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I did.
How'd that happen? Like, I mean, was it just one of those things that you weren't really sure what you wanted to pursue and you just kind of fell into it, or?
like I said, like I thought I wanted to be in the military. My parents talked me out of that. And then I just knew I didn't want to go to college, and I thought I wanted to be a diesel tech. Well, my mom's very adamant about job shadowing everybody. So I went and job shadowed, did that for a month. I said I will never work under a car again. And then I set up tents for a local company. My dad told me I need to try working for someone else. I set up tents for a summer, and realized that there's no gratitude there. I mean, it's just straight. You go set up a tent, you work from 6 a.m. till 7 p.m. There's no different scenario changes. So that's when my dad knew a local builder that we were able to get our foot in the door, and I just started doing new construction homes. These were custom homes that were like, multiple month projects. It wasn't just a 2-bedroom house. We're talking 7-bedroom, 8-bath homes. So it's very large projects. But during the crisis, there wasn't that many going up, especially around here. It's like everywhere else in 2008. So I really learned that side of the business as far as new construction side. But I was told that you always need to learn new construction before you go service, so you can know what kind of plumbing's in the walls. So that really helped me out with that aspect. Here in Indianapolis, you have to go to school for 4 years to get your state license. So I started that right when I was 18 and went for 4 years till I was 22. And then I got my journeyman license for plumbing.
Okay. And then so your dad is the one that started the plumbing company then? Now
Yes. Well, my grandpa started it originally.
Oh, okay.
Back in the 60s. And then my dad took over and they did new construction. And then in 1996, he went full service. That was like a big era, the late 90s, early 2000s. A lot of companies were going full service. He joined a group called Contractors 2000. It's kind of like a Nexstar. I don't know if you've ever heard of them.
Yeah.
So he joined that group and they were all about, going service. And so that's where he went full service, did plumbing, heating, and cooling, and then he had the opportunity to sell out in 2006 to a corporate company that he was part of, a national franchise. And so then that's where, like I said, there was that 2-year phase where, growing up, I always said I would never be a plumber or be in the trade, because you get that. I grew up in a white collar community, so it's kind of like, going into trades, it isn't, even today when I tell people I'm a plumber, I don't always say I own a business, but just saying you're a plumber, people kind of just are like, oh, okay, but at the end of the day, yeah, good for you. But if you were telling them you go to college, it'd be like, oh yeah, what are you studying? Blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day though, you only make $30,000 after that degree. Whereas, as a licensed professional, you're making 70 plus. Easily in our area.
And when you're that age too, you don't really make the connection between, you said you grew up in kind of a white collar area, collar community. You don't really make the connection that, that lifestyle came from trade work.
Yes.
And because, and I, my upbringing was a little bit different, but I've heard that quite a bit from people that, oh yeah, I grew up in a nice house and this and that. My family comes from the trades. I didn't really want to get into the trades, and looking back, it's like, oh, that I didn't realize, what that meant or what those opportunities were. Because I think like anything else, you're so close to a situation, it's easy to take it for granted, right? It's easy to think, there's got to be a better way or whatever, what have you. But that's really an interesting story. So even though you grew up in the trades, what was your perception of a tradesman? Whether it was when you were in high school, let's say when you were making that transition.
Yeah, no, like I said, I mean, the perception for being in the trades growing up, that's why I said I never wanted to do it. Mm-hmm. Just growing up in kind of a white collar community, very nice area. It's just it's one of those things that, why would you want to get into it? There's no money in it. You need to go get a 4-year degree to do something with your life. Mm-hmm. So that would be my biggest thing. Until I actually got into it, I didn't know what to expect. I mean, I grew up around the business, But at the same time, it's like I wasn't here every day. So I don't, I knew things in the business. Every once in a while I would come around and do jobs, with my dad around the house, plumbing wise, but I never really fell in love with it until I started doing it.
Makes sense. What do you love about it?
My biggest thing, that's why I love the service side. I love taking care of people, with their needs. Everybody needs running water, potable water. Everybody has to have a sewer. And it's amazing the extent people go to get that service done. It just blows your mind. It's like needing a heart transplant. So for me, that's kind of like where it definitely, you feel that need in the community. So everybody needs you.
Absolutely. Another thing I think that's taken for granted, right? The best explanation for a plumber that I've ever heard is actually came from Mike Mayberry, who was a guest on this podcast a couple times.
Yeah.
And he said that he had heard a plumber tell him once, basically in a nutshell, their job is to take the bad water out and bring the good water in.
Mm-hmm.
And when you think about that at its most basic level, we just, I mean, it's hard to survive without that.
Yeah.
So people could argue that plumbers are one of the fundamental services that we need
Mm-hmm.
in civilization today, along with a lot of other skilled trades. But plumbing especially, you know people take for granted. You brush your teeth in the morning, you wash your hands, you take a shower,
Yep.
use the toilet, whatever. I mean, that's all stuff that cannot exist without plumbers and plumbing companies.
Yep. Yep. You just have to go. My parents went to Haiti. It's been over 11 years ago on a missions trip. My dad did plumbing down there, but the stuff that he brought back, the pictures, it just blows your mind that in today's world, there's countries that don't have running water or any type of sanitation department. I mean, to get rid of stuff. So it just, it's a big eye opener. In today's world, people can't wait 30 minutes for us to get to them for hot water.
Yeah.
So, it's crazy, but there's a need for it. And that's what I love doing, is be able to take care of that. So,
Absolutely. So what do you think? I mean, you've kind of already discussed with me what you think the perceptions are, kind of
hmm
based on your perception that the trades are kind of low paying
hmm
jobs and stuff like that.
hmm
What do you think we could do to change the perception of today's youth? Because I think it's pretty widespread, right? And I
yeah,
don't know. I know there's been a big push lately for the skilled trades
hmm
and stuff like that, but I don't know that it's really reaching the audience that it intends to reach. So, how do you think that we could reach kids these days?
uh, well, I actually wrote an article on this year. I think it was in June or July. It was in a PM magazine for plumbing mechanical. It was millennials on the move, but that was one of the topics that was discussed. And my biggest thing is that these things have to be started at a young age. After high school, after college is too late. So when you have, the problem with our industry is I have guys that come to me that are 24 years old, already went to college, they have debt, but they need to make a certain amount of money. But as you know, you can't make top dollar starting out. You have to start because you don't know anything. You aren't a professional yet. So that's a big deal breaker for that we run into, is a lot of good candidates. They can't get into the trades because they have to make a certain amount of money. I think that for like high school, it should be one of those things that if people, starting your freshman year, I would have signed up. But I think you should have those options, kind of like a vocational school, like you go to school for half the day, get your credits that you need to, and the second half you're learning a trade. So, and I think it's good to learn all the trades, not just be, expert at one. That way you're able to get your hands dirty and figure out which one you like the most, because everybody clicks, different ways. I tried heating and cooling a little bit, but it just didn't click like plumbing did. So in electrical, that just doesn't click for me like plumbing. And I think it's important to try all those things instead of when you're 30, we have guys that want to learn them all, but it's almost too late in life. You've already chose one path. So you kind of have to stick with it. So I think it's important to just be well-rounded, and it just has to start at a younger age. So that's where it comes down to. The hardest part with us is our PHCC in our local area. The problem with plumbing, like we have HVAC in the high school now, in local high schools, but the plumbing, your licensing so strict here. So it's very, very strict to get a plumbing license. So they don't let you start until you're 18 for your apprenticeship,
Oh, wow.
which is, yeah, it's kind of frustrating. So it's like a lot of states where you don't even have to have. Florida, I know, is one, because I worked there for a little while, that you don't have to have your journeyman license. You work under your owner's license.
Interesting.
So yeah, from that standpoint, it's not the best for the technician themselves, but like from our standpoint, trying to find someone that is licensed to work for you, it's very hard.
Yeah, not to mention, that's licensed and that has the ability to actually perform the work, because let's
Yep.
be honest, those aren't often the same thing.
No.
I've run across a lot of people that are licensed in anything and everything, and
Yep.
could barely turn a wrench.
Nope.
And I think that's a testament to this skilled trades gap that we're seeing now, that I'm trying to close with this book and this podcast. And
Mm-hmm.
more people retiring from the industry than entering into it, and even sometimes the caliber of the people that are entering into it, maybe it's something they didn't want to pursue, and they
Yeah.
were pushed into it, or whatever. My thing is, I want to make sure that people know that they have this option, and what
Mm-hmm.
it means, kind of exactly what you said. If we lay all the trades out in high school, and kind of like
Mm-hmm.
when you job shadowed, it's
Yep.
the same thing, right? What do you like doing? And how can the skilled trades give it to you? Because
Yep.
I'm a big advocate for letting people know that the avenues within the skilled trades, I mean, and
Mm-hmm.
you're a good example of this as well. You started as a plumber, but now you're in office management, working
Mm-hmm.
your way to a president position one
Yep.
day. I mean, and the same could be said for anybody else. Often it starts turning the wrenches, but
Yep.
that's not where it has to end.
Yep. And some of the best, business owners in our industry, they turn the wrenches, so they know the business. So that's where you get the respect from your teammates. So
Yep.
any of my guys, I'm only 29, but they call me I have older gentlemen that call me all the time for solutions. So I'll give you a solution if you want one. So I've been there. I've been in the ditches. I've done about everything in plumbing you can think of. So I've got all my certifications from backflow testing to you name it. I've been to water heater manufacturers. So I'm very, very knowledgeable in the industry, but that's a difference. Is when I was younger, I didn't invest myself in school. So I had to find that passion. And, it was later in life, which I wish it would have happened when I was a freshman in high school instead of when I got out.
Yeah.
So, and we
Do
didn't,
you,
you don't have that option in today's world, which is unfortunate.
Well, and that's just it, with taking shop class out of schools and stuff like that you see going around. Do you
Mm-hmm.
think that there's an area even before high school to get these
Oh yeah,
kids
middle school for
interested?
sure.
Yeah.
I think seventh and eighth graders are mature enough to start knowing that stuff. I mean, you're gonna have people that don't know how to swing a hammer. I mean, I was the kid that grew up. I grew up on a bunch of acreage, so I knew how to do all that stuff. So, but it's just like anything else. You're gonna have people that participate and people that don't. So, sorry about
Yeah.
that.
Oh, that's all right. No, and that makes sense. It's funny. Obviously, I wrote the book for the high school demographic, and some of the language I use in the book is questionable at best. I actually, it wasn't until after I wrote the book and I started to push this podcast a little bit more, and I was talking to everybody about their opinions on when to get this information out to kids, that I
Yeah.
realized, there's a whole demographic all the way before high school and in middle school. So I've been
Mm-hmm.
contemplating coming out with like a young readers edition, so where it kind of cleans
Yeah.
it up a little bit,
Yeah.
because I know this version's a little rougher on the edges, but
Yeah.
obviously that's by design. When I was growing up, it was the teachers that talked real with me, that really
Mm-hmm.
resonated with me,
Mm-hmm.
that talked to me like an adult.
Mm-hmm.
So, but now looking back, I'm like, man, middle school is really, we
Yeah.
got to do something for those kids too.
And one thing, I've told you I started trade life. One thing, you ask any plumber, you talk to any plumber or HVAC guy or electrical or commercial equipment like you do, they're proud of what they do. So there's a profession behind it, and you're very proud. And that's where trade life kind of for me came in. That's something that I would love to see grow into a brand that gives back to the community as far as uh, getting kids into the trades earlier. Talking, it starts to talk. So it it helps the younger generation start talking about being in the trade, living the trade life.
Let's talk
So
about that
that's
for a second.
yeah.
Let's explain to the listeners and the audience what trade life is, and how and why you started it.
Yeah, so I don't know where it really came from. Uh, I was trying to think what we were saying something here at the office, and I was just kind of like, yeah, trade life, like like living the trade. And we just kind of started messing around with it, and everybody in my office loved it. And I started making stickers and some shirts, and I even went to the extent of trademarking it. But within the past 6 months, I've started getting more serious with like t-shirt designs and website stuff. But as far as the future of it, I mean, I have avenues as far as like having a school, a trade life school, to be teaching about it. But all it's about is just getting the knowledge out there, just like you're doing, to get people in the trades. And to me, by having the hashtag trade life, that's a way of doing it. Today everything's social media. So by having that revenue to get to that, that's to me, that's something huge. So
That's really, really cool. And I think that's a real tangible step to get the word out there.
hmm
And obviously I think it's a great tagline,
hmm
hashtag trade life.
yeah.
Where do you find your most traction, like on social media? What platform?
Instagram
Yeah.
for
And
sure.
that is perfect for the message that you're trying to get
Yeah.
across.
Facebook, I get stuff, but it's all, you get all kinds of people saying stuff on Facebook. So
Yeah.
we have
Yeah.
a thing like for for advertising. Anybody on Facebook is like 40 years or older, somewhere in there, the
Yeah.
demographics, and everybody below that's on Instagram.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
So I
true.
guess yeah. So
And I think
whenever
Instagram is definitely, those are where the eyes are that you want on your brand.
yeah
And I think that if you can gain some traction with it, which it sounds like you are, that it
yeah
could really become a viable hashtag. I mean, I'm going to start
no
using it, after this
yeah I
podcast
love it.
now, because I think that the messages sound. Do you have a lot of stuff up there? So if I searched trade
Yeah,
life,
yeah. We have, I think, close to 1,000 followers. We haven't been doing it real long, but like I said, it's one of those things we haven't thrown all kinds of money at it. We haven't dedicated to it. It's just been kind of fun. So
yeah,
just starting out. I'm still, my heart's committed here at this business right now. So my parents have been working on it. They're kind of phasing themselves out. So it's something that they can kind of have fun with too.
cool.
So it's just kind of another family business that we could, my dad's very passionate about the trade, and so is my mom. So just being around it, we're all really passionate about it. So I just want to keep promoting it, and we'll see what happens. So I just have a lot of goals for it, but we'll see what happens. So it's like anything else. You just
Yeah.
got to take it
Well,
day by day.
and that's cool though, because it was started for the right reasons, and it's fun. You don't have to throw a lot of money at it or anything right now. Let's,
Yeah.
just let it grow organically and go from
hmm
there. Talk to people, like me, and maybe I can connect you to some other people in the
Yeah.
industry too, and we can really start pushing that hashtag, get it out there, because
Yeah.
anything that we can do for America's youth, and to get the
Yeah.
word out, the more the better.
Yep.
So let me ask you this. This is kind of a newer question that I just added to my list of questions that I sometimes ask. But what do you think is one of the coolest things about the trades that people might not know?
What is the coolest thing I think about it? I think for me is on my side of the trade is, everybody needs trades. Everybody has to have someone in the trade. It's when I go around people say stuff and then they're like, oh, I need this done or I need this done. It's always going to be a need. So I think at the end of the day, you should be very proud of having that skill set of being able to help everybody in the community. So because everybody needs someone in the trade.
Yeah, I'd say that's probably something cool that people don't know, because again, we're circling back again, right, to it's taken for granted. Everything that you need during the day is a result of a tradesperson, you know.
Yeah.
And I firmly believe that. I mean, anything, driving your car to work, and anything in your office. I mean, I'm looking at your office right now, and you know I see dollar signs everywhere.
Yeah.
And
This is
that's,
this is my training room, but
well, no, but it's still, I mean, somebody
yeah.
had to build that building. Somebody had to frame the door. Somebody had to look at all that. I mean, come
Yeah.
on. My
Yeah.
guess is you guys probably did those water
I
heaters,
did.
but
Yeah. Yeah.
um, but I mean, and it goes without saying, it's something that everybody needs, like you said, and that no one really thinks about. It's taken for granted. So to be that person that people need, I
Hmm.
think there's a lot of satisfaction in that.
I agree. 100%.
So, what would you say if I were to ask you what the biggest lesson that the trades taught you was? What do you think that would be?
Uh, that there is plenty of opportunity for sure. Whether you're in a family business, whether you work for someone else, today more than ever is easier to start a one-man show business more than ever. There's so many opportunity on the internet. I just think for anybody that wants to get into trades, that opportunity is out there, and we have plenty of people here that have worked here before that have gone on their own and they're doing very successful. And I think it's awesome. It takes a lot of courage to do that type of stuff, but everybody, it's America, and we need small businesses, and there's opportunity everywhere.
Yeah, no, I'd say that's a pretty good lesson. That's one of the things that the trades taught me. I had no idea what I was getting myself into when when I
Yep.
called my dad up and asked to work with him. I really didn't, but
Yep.
like I kind of worked my way up, got to know what it was all about, before I could see the opportunity.
Hmm.
But once I did, yeah, I mean, it was clear as day. Like you
Yeah.
said too. I've had guys come through here that have left and started their own
Hmm.
companies, and
Hmm.
you know, in this day and age, it's great. Even the camaraderie that surrounds the trades. Like, if somebody leaves my company because they're going to start their own,
Yeah.
especially at this point in where my company is,
Yeah.
I tell them all the time, look, if there's anything that I can do to help you, you
Hmm.
just let me know, because
Hmm.
the trades is, as Rich Maliki says, it's the biggest little industry.
Yep.
We all help each other,
Make
and
sure you're pricing things right.
yes, yeah, absolutely.
That's where the biggest thing is.
Oh yeah.
You need to learn how to read a expense report. So you can't just pull numbers out of your butt. So
No, that
that's probably
doesn't
the
work.
biggest thing. That's probably the number one lesson. So it takes cash flow, and you gotta make sure you're charging the right price. So
Yeah, cash flow, cash flow. That's, it's funny you mentioned that. I joke with my dad all the time. I said, you couldn't open up like a snow cone stand or a bait shop or something. I could, sell a product. It had to be a service company. Thanks, Pop. But
yeah,
because as you know, cash flow is like the number
yeah,
one.
yeah. No, my parents do self storage and some commercial real estate too.
Oh, okay.
So kind of see the both of, or all the financials for all the businesses, but plumbing is definitely where it's at.
Yeah.
So even through hard times, you're always going to need plumbing, and it's all the money's always there. So
Absolutely. So let me ask you this personally.
yeah,
Now, how do you define success?
for me, it's helping other people get what they want in life. So I love just love empowering people. That probably the most frustrating thing to me is when we have meetings that talk about good stuff, and you have that A player you thought would be there and they don't show up, and to me that's just so discouraging. I just love seeing the best out of everybody, and just want everybody to be the best. That's how we are here. We are the best. So we polish our shoes every day. We wear nice uniforms. We clean our trucks once a week. So I just like being the best opportunity, best company out there. And I just love helping other people become the best they can be.
That's a good way to define success.
Hmm.
So, if you could say one thing then to the listeners about choosing a career in the trades, what would it be?
Go for it. You never know till you try. So I think summer jobs. One thing we've tried to start doing around here is having high schoolers do a ride along for a day. With insurance stuff, it's kind of been hurting us, but we definitely want to start trying to get towards that. I go to a couple schools around here yearly and try to talk to kids. We get a little bit of interaction, but like you said, it has to start your freshman year of high school or younger. That summer break, you need to be doing something. So whether it's just trying for a week, trying to work with someone in the trade, so and see what it's like. You may hate it, or you may love it. So it's just you don't know until you try. That's one thing in life I've always gone with is you don't know until you try. So
That's some
keep
good
going until you
advice.
figure it out.
That's some real good advice. So, why don't you tell people where they can find you, how they can contact you, and maybe drop trade life a little bit?
Yeah, no. You can reach out to me. I have a Instagram. My personal one's just Kelson Carter. Our business is cartersmyplumber.com. Or you can visit tradelife.com. Look out some stuff. I love feedback on stuff. You may have a better idea than I do. So I love people's criticism. So it makes me become better. And uh, that's where you can see me.
Awesome. Before we wrap it up entirely, is there anything else you wanted to say?
No, I really
Cool.
appreciate your time, and I love what you're doing, and I love if everybody else listen to this podcast, what they're doing. So everybody has a heart for it, and let's make the trades great again.
Absolutely. Well, thanks again for your time, Kelson. I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
And we'll talk again soon.